All right, unpopular opinion. I think landfall. I think Soul of Windgrace is better than. See if I can get a close up of him. I think it's better than Lord of Windgrace. Unlike here, you can. I mean, we can compare the two, right? Discard a card, draw a card. If it's a land card, you discard it, draw two cards. So you discard a land to draw two cards. Well, it's not quite the same, right? But you can discard a land to draw a card. So early game. And by the way, you immediately get it back because he attacks. Return of two land cards. You attack with him. And better yet, he can give himself indestructible. Unlike him, it's cheaper. You make him especially on arena. You just pay a black, discard a land card. He's indestructible. You attack with him, make him indestructible. They can't kill him. They'll just trump block him or something unless you can give him trample. It's landfall on a stick. That's why you can do two things. One, you can build a landfall. You can build a landfall Voltron deck. You know, Skyclave Pickaxe is a great example of this. Tenza, um, other landfally cards are Authority, Sticky Fingers, Rancor. Regeneration is great because you just keep him alive. He just won't die as long as you keep mana up. You know, buff and regenerate him. Get some counters on him. Get trample on him. Uh, right, whatever, right. And this is an old listing of mine because I originally bought the Land's Wrath precon, took everything that was white out of it, and then just have slowly added stuff in over time. So I got him from the Dominator United pack. I actually got this printing, but I don't know why I defaulted to this, but whatever. Um, this is my current list. It's not the most up to date list, but it gets at a good idea. If you want to optimize him, what you should do is you should run more stuff like a noble hierarch, like mana dorks, and stuff that gets lands in your graveyard, like or ramps you. Um, or like Entomb is a great idea of like you just want to get you want to get a land in your graveyard early, or what's it called, crop rotation, stuff like that, or all like rampant growth, just all the 2 mana spells, right? The reason why I don't do that um, is because I prefer a stronger turn 4 and turn 5 as opposed to getting him out earlier. Prime example of this is Kalani Heart Expedition. You get this out turn 2, you play a land, and turn 3 has 1 counter. You play most of your 3 mana ramp spells in here will sacrifice you a land and ramp you 2 basics, or 2 lands. Which means you just get to immediately sacrifice this, and then at the end of turn 3, you have 6 lands. It's pretty darn good. And then just usual commander stuff of like trying to run utility. This part, Strive, has saved me more times than I'd care to admit. Road to Ruin. I actually haven't seen this card. I've ran this for quite a while, but I just never run into it. But it works. They're two sides of the same coin, right? Deal damage to somebody and get your graveyard back, and ramp and hurt somebody, right? Some card draw, some removal and ramp. I think Terra Sunder and Urborg Repossession are fantastic cheap cards, especially with the kicker that adds some pretty good utility. You got a lot of wonderful creatures in here that you want back, and getting some of these other permanents back, or even another creature, is a great thing. Other notes: regeneration. Regenerate your commander. Why pay 3 mana and lose a land if you can just pay 1 mana and not lose a land? But don't be afraid to use these abilities. These are great. In fact, I should run even more lands than 40. Because I used to run like 36, 38 or whatever. I could honestly run 44 or 45 and be perfectly fine. Tutors, they're fun, and I own them in person, which is why I use them, but you don't need them. You don't need to like tutor for Avenger of Zendikar or Rampage UBLS every time. It kind of gets a little boring that way, especially when you already have like enough finishers. Overall, the deck is still a pretty bog standard landfall deck. If you wanted to do your own spin on this, You probably could get rid of some of the more group huggy cards. I'm personally biased in front of favor of them. Um, you probably could lean a little more into, trample and evasion effects. I currently don't with my current listing. Also, hey, Dredge is good. Um, Reminds me, I picked up a copy of Life from the Loan. That stuff is good. I actually run the Cascade lands right now instead of the Sphere lands, but you could do whatever you want. You got flexibility, right? Run a lot of fun utility lands, but don't be afraid to run a massive amount of basics. Um, I'll tell you this: this is not needed. The price drop it experience is kind of reflective of how I feel about it. It's nice to have, especially like you can get up to some funny combos using Mirror Pool to copy like a ramp spell, like um, Ventus Restoration to search for like 3 lands. Copy that to search for 6. It's a landfall deck, right? You know what you're getting into. You don't need the fetch lands. These are much better. They sacrifice themselves immediately, which means you don't have to wait a turn to crack them. I will say this: Evolving Wilds is very painful in this deck because you crack a fetch land, so you crack Evolving Wilds to get a land that enters tapped, and then next turn you attack with your commander, and then you bring that Evolving Wilds back tapped, and then you have to wait another turn to crack it. It's probably fair, but very painful and very slow. Don't do that. Blighted Woodland is great. If you really want to break the deck wide open, run effects like Tiller Engine or Spelunking. Spelunking is just an expensive explorer. This part right here, just if you have like 10 or more ramp spells in a green deck, you should just run this. Or like Tiller Engine. If you don't need to untap them necessarily, just tap down people's blockers so you can get in with your big boys. Or or if you have a bounce land or say a Lotus Field, um, this is great. Congratulations. Every time like one of these lands come in that immediately sacrifice themselves, congratulations. You've now been able to like untap your specific lands that you need to. Hypothetically, if you have some instance, you could float a ridiculous amount of mana that way. Is there any final notes? Skip to the Wilds is pretty good. I think that's an underrated card. I don't necessarily run all of these. You probably ought to get your hands on an actual board wipe. I haven't. Dire Stern Rampage is underrated because you can sacrifice your own land. That's usually what I do, but hypothetically, you can destroy some other stuff. Um, get a better haste enabler. I just have this, so I use it. Um, I did pick this up. This is a good haste enabler. Also, on a side note, like, why? He's not. So he gives your stuff haste, and then you can make target creature gain haste and scry 1. Why? Why is this part here when this already exists? I mean, I suppose the buff effect is nice, but I mean, people will kill. I don't know, like this is such a nothing burger planeswalker, but if people can kill it, they will. So this is really where the gas is at. Any other last minute notes? No, if you want to like build this for yourself, honestly, my recommendation is you buy. Let me click on a tab that's already open. Cut back. Okay, so what I did is when I got him, which by the way, broken on arena. Not sure if I voiced that. Excellent. What I did is I bought the Land's Wrath precon, and then I just sort of like slowly took things apart for parts. Um, it's not it's not a bad precon. It's not really what I want. So they haven't updated this list yet. What you may want to do is just buy this precon and then just take things apart for parts. Um, just get rid of all the white stuff like Chromatic Lantern. It's not really something you need, but it can be useful. Sofa Boots is always useful. I don't know. You can discard your own lands. Just for normal lands to discard if you really need to mill yourself. But I suppose it's a possible strategy. Dominaria is good. Um, I mean, that synergizes pretty well with the commander. That's a haste and ambush, so that's not too bad. What about the lands? Yeah, don't do that. Uh, I suppose, but your commander can cycle things better anyways. So don't run that. Run a basic instead. Same logic, except you can't run that. Um, don't run these. Run the new Capenna lands. You're not running a desert deck, so don't even bother. Especially because, according to my friend now, deserts are going to be hip, and so you're just in for a bad time. That's good. Don't run that. Um, I suppose you can run that. It's sort of same logic. I think you're supposed to like discard a land, but honestly, you just might as well play Harrow effects. Which, by the way, Harrow is an absolutely broken card. As established, being able to use your lands as soon as you ramp for them, you break the fundamental rules of Magic. It's great. Harrow is a wonderful spell. Um, Omnath's a good finish. Honestly, these are all great finishers. These two. Um, that's perfectly fine, especially if you can find a way to get yourself more land drops per turn. I'm not, it's always good to have other ways of getting lands from your graveyard. Um, that's not like, I mean, I'm gonna pick this up. It's just whatever. Titania, for the same logic, you're gonna be sacrificing lands every turn, so you want to like the elementals are nice. Avengers Endocart's classic green finisher. You'll have better access to card draw. I actually got rid of this, but I suppose you could find a use for it. Just run the Urbark Repossession. You might as well. You have better access to ramp. Just run Spring Boom Druid instead. Um, you won't need that. Um, this is like another version of your commander, except he won't stay alive. But I suppose if you want the recursion, I just run that in my Convoke deck instead. Um, don't need that. Escape to the Wilds is great. Decimate's perfectly fine. Explore. These aren't necessarily bad. It's all very functional. Let me see if I can open this up and ignore the ads. All right. So first of all, you should totally watch this video. Um, give him credit to this guy for covering it. That's useless to you. I'm gonna skim through all this. No, who cares? Nah, it's white, so we don't care. Um, no, we don't care about that. This is quote unquote the problem with modern Wizards design. Two of these effects would have been nice. The reach and this would have been fine. This and this would have been fine. This and this would have been fine. But it did not need reach, lands you control, and lands you own, or deserts. Uh, fix all of your deserts, and you can mill yourself. Um, if it wasn't for the fact that I still don't think people are going to be running deserts after this, I think I don't know. It's not worth it. Um, talking about storm or something. I don't know why. That's not part of the precon, but this card is phenomenal. My friend and I both want this. Retrace. Um, there's a specific card I once had in here. That's in red. Specifically this retrace. I currently have this in a different deck, but this is a very, very usable card, you know? Just discard a land card, which you're going to be wanting to do anyways, to cascade. Um, really? This was in Forgotten Realms Commander? Is that why I have a copy of this? Oh no, this is probably in the set I didn't get. Whatever. This is a funny card. You should totally run it. Right. That's sort of doing what you want to do. Ignore the commanders. Don't care about that. Um, oh, that's the search for wizards. We don't care about that. Um, I would just rather you keep your commander alive and buff him as opposed to doing this. But I mean, this is a perfectly fine finisher. Um, So yeah, like, the thing that makes a bunch of 2/2 plant tokens have that, you know, it's great. What about this card? You're just on general, you're not gonna have that many lands in your graveyard. You're gonna be getting one out every turn. Um, Here's he has his own thing on Moxfield. Right, Ancient Green Warning. Super excited to get that. Uh, is there really anything else I would care about? Now, I think this is, by the way, I'm not to diminish. This is a functional precon. There's nothing wrong with this precon. I just think for the purposes of buying this precon, so we can build this deck like I did with the last precon. Um, the, yes, I bought the precon. I scraped stuff off of it. So we get like stuff like abundance or mending toner or answer flourishing, you know, filter your lands, whatever. It's great. Cool.